Well, let's begin with Beatrice. She runs the coziest little shop in the village, but today someone walks in who cannot pay. What will she do? Let's find out in the first story called Beatrice and the Empty Shelf. Beatrice was stacking books when a young mouse tiptoed in. She clutched a wrinkled pouch and pointed to a book filled with stars. Her voice was quiet. "Do I have enough for this one?" Beatrice opened the pouch and saw just 3 small acorns. She looked at the mouse's hopeful eyes. She wrapped the book slowly and placed it in her paws. "This one is for you." The next morning, the mouse returned with a hand-drawn picture of the story. Beatrice smiled. Generosity was not about what you gave away. It was about what you shared with love. Beatrice gave from the heart. Now let's meet someone who builds from the imagination. What happens when Ahmed tries something no one else has ever done? In Ahmed and the Reverse Wheel Racer, Ahmed watched the racers zoom past. All of them moved forward fast and proud. But he scratched his head. What if one could race in reverse? He drew plans and gathered scraps. Everyone laughed. That will never work. Ahmed kept going. He bolted wheels backward and flipped the frame. The first test failed. So did the second. On the third try, the cart rolled back smooth and steady. He entered the race. He did not win, but the crowd stood and cheered. Ahmed beamed. Innovation was not always about winning. Sometimes it was just about daring to try something new. Ahmed showed us that thinking differently can lead to something amazing. But what happens when you start doubting yourself? Let's follow Lyria into a cave where a quiet voice starts to whisper, "In Lyria and the Echo of Doubt." Lyria stepped into the glowing cave. It was quiet except for one sound. "You are not magical enough." She froze. The walls were lined with mirrors showing every mistake she had made. Spilled potions, broken flower stems, wilted wings. Maybe the echo was right. Then she saw a single vine glowing near her foot. It had bloomed from a kind word she had spoken just yesterday. She touched it gently. "I am enough." The cave shimmered with soft light. The echo faded. Lyria smiled. Self-belief was not about being perfect. It was about remembering the good that already grows inside. Lyria found her light again by trusting herself. But what if things do not go to plan at all? Let's see how Astra handles the unexpected when everything suddenly goes dark. Astra and the Firefly Festival mishap. Astra buzzed through the sky, placing lanterns for the Firefly Festival. Each one glowed just right. Everything was ready. Then dark clouds rolled in, rain poured down, every single light went out. She landed hard. "It is ruined." But as the raindrops slowed, she looked up. Her wings flickered. Then an idea sparked. She zipped to her friends and whispered the plan. Soon tiny fireflies lit up the sky in swirls and shapes. The crowd below clapped and cheered. Astra beamed. The night was even better than before. Adaptability turned the storm into something beautiful. Astra showed us that change is not the end. It is the chance to try something new. Lyria fluttered awake and stretched her wings. Something felt wrong. She looked down and gasped. Her glow was gone. She spun in circles. She leapt into the air. Nothing. Her light had vanished. She hid behind a tree. Without her glow, would anyone still see her as special? A tiny firefly flickered nearby, lost in the darkness. Lyria cupped her hands and guided it home. As it blinked with joy, warmth spread through her chest. A soft shimmer returned to her wings. She smiled. Her glow was never just light. It was the kindness inside her. Lyria found her confidence again. But what about patience? Let's visit Barnaby, who has a big mess to fix. Barnaby opened his shop and froze. His ledger was a disaster. Numbers were everywhere. Pages were out of order. He could not tell what was in stock. The shop would open soon and he had no time to lose. He flipped through the pages quickly. His paws smudged the ink. It only got worse. He huffed and set the ledger down. Rushing would not fix this. Taking a deep breath, he sorted the pages one by one. Slowly, the numbers made sense again. Just as the first customers arrived, his ledger was perfect. Patience had saved the day. Barnaby learned that slow and steady gets the job done. But what happens when someone takes something that does not belong to them? Let's float over to Puffy and see what he has done. Puffy whirled through the sky, spinning and twisting in the strongest wind he had ever felt. He laughed as he soared higher and faster. This was the best breeze ever. A deep voice rumbled below. Alderwise the oak called to him, "That wind belongs to the forest. It is not yours to take." Puffy ignored him and kept playing. Then the air suddenly stopped. He wobbled and drifted down, too light to float without the breeze. He hurried back to Alderwise and returned the wind with an apology. Respect meant listening and thinking about others before himself. Puffy learned that taking without asking is never the right choice. But what about remembering the things that matter most? Let's visit Jasper as he uncovers a forgotten treasure. Jasper sat at his desk, sorting old papers, when a small feather slipped from a book. He picked it up and turned it in his claws. It was worn and faded. He could not remember why he had kept it. He almost tossed it away, but something stopped him. He closed his eyes and thought. Then he remembered. It was from Max, given to him on the day he first learned to fly. A gift of friendship and trust. Jasper placed the feather in a special frame. Let me tell you something about cherishing the little things. The tiniest moments change everything. A word, a hug, a brave little choice. They can mean the world. These stories, they're about friends you'd meet right here in Tiny Tales Land. Each one teaches us a little more about courage, kindness, and being there for someone else. Ready? I've got 4 stories for you today, and each one's got a little magic tucked inside. Let's begin with the first tale, about Sapphira and the bravest promise ever made. Sapphira sat on the edge of Nana's bed, heart pounding. "You need to go to the doctor," she said, but Nana just smiled and waved it off. Sapphira stood tall. "You always say to be brave. Now it's your turn." Her voice shook, but she didn't back down. Nana paused, her eyes softened. Then she nodded. "For you, I promise." When the door closed behind them, Sapphira whispered, "That's what love looks like." And that's the thing about Sapphira. Even when scared, she stands strong. Now let's visit someone else who knows how to help when it really matters. Emma sat on the playground bench, watching Liam stare at the ground near the swings. Everyone else played tag or climbed the jungle gym. Emma took a breath and stood. Her feet felt heavy, but she walked over anyway. "Hey," she said softly. Liam didn't answer. Emma sat beside him. "I like this spot," she added, swinging her feet. After a pause, Liam smiled just a little. They talked about games and silly snacks. Emma didn't push. She just stayed. Sometimes kindness is quiet. Just sitting is enough. Next up, we've got someone who knows how to turn the quiet into joy. Emily stirred the sauce carefully, just like Dad showed her. She glanced at him and grinned. "Let's dance," she said, holding out her hands. Music filled the kitchen. Emily spun around, nearly knocking over a spoon. She laughed and twirled again, this time pretending the spoon was a microphone. "I'm the kitchen queen," she shouted. Dad clapped along. The sauce bubbled behind them, but Emily kept dancing. It wasn't perfect. It was better. It was fun. Joy can bubble up just like sauce. You never know when it will spill over. And now, let's meet someone who finds something precious in the middle of a sad day. Jonathan zoomed past the park bench on his bike, wind brushing his cheeks. He almost didn't stop, but he saw her. Olivia sat with her face in her hands. He slowed, parked his bike, and walked over. Are you okay? He asked gently. She shook her head. I lost my bracelet. My grandma gave it to me. Jonathan didn't wait. He started searching the grass. His knees got muddy, his fingers cold. Then he saw it, near the roots of a tree. He held it up and smiled. Helping someone else feels better than any bike ride ever could. Tim wiped sweat from his forehead as the sun beat down on his lemonade stand. Only a few cups left. He glanced across the street. Lily sat at her own stand, empty and quiet. Her eyes followed every cup Tim sold. He looked down at his own. Then he grabbed two and crossed the road. Here, he said, handing her one. Lily blinked. But I didn't pay. Tim smiled. You don't always have to. Generosity makes it better. Lily took a sip. Her smile grew. One small act can fill more than just a cup. Niblet and the cracked nut. Are you ready? Let's begin. Niblet stared at the giant golden nut hidden under the old tree. It was bigger than his head. Everyone said he was too small to crack it. He pushed it. He rolled it. He jumped on it. Nothing worked. The nut stayed shut. Niblet sat down. His paws hurt. He remembered what Grandpa Frog once told him. Little steps make big things happen. So Niblet kept trying. Tap, tap, tap every day. One morning he heard a snap. The nut cracked open. Inside was a tiny, magical seed. Niblet smiled. Perseverance had cracked the hardest shell. Niblet's little steps led to something big. But sometimes big ideas need a different way of thinking. Let's meet Fizz the Bubble Maker and see what he discovers. Shall we? Fizz, the frog, stood by the pond, cheeks puffed. He wanted to make a bubble no one had ever seen, a bubble that could carry messages to his friends. He blew and blew. Each bubble popped too soon or floated the wrong way. He frowned. Maybe he was trying too hard to copy what others did. Fizz closed his eyes and thought of silly pictures and colors. He laughed and blew again. This time the bubbles danced with shapes and smiles inside. His friends clapped and cheered. Fizz learned that creativity means doing things your own way. Fizz's bubbles showed that imagination can change everything. But sometimes, kindness is even more powerful. Let's follow Pebble the tortoise and see how a slow step can help someone in a hurry. Pebble walked slowly along the path, his little feet brushing the grass. He liked taking his time. Then he heard Scooter the squirrel rushing past, looking worried. Scooter had lost his delivery list and did not know where to look. Everyone else was too busy to stop. Pebble kept walking, but now he looked carefully. He checked behind bushes and under leaves. At last he spotted a crumpled piece of paper stuck by a stone. It was the list. Pebble smiled and gave it back to Scooter. Kindness is not about speed. It is about noticing who needs help. Pebble showed us how slowing down can help others. But what happens when you make a big mistake in front of everyone? Let's visit Whimsy the Hedgehog and find out. Whimsy tapped her paws and smiled. Today she would bake the grand cake for the Harvest Festival. Everyone in Tiny Tales Land loved her cupcakes. She wanted this cake to be perfect. She mixed and stirred and baked. When she opened the oven, her smile dropped. The cake was burnt and crumbly. She wanted to hide it and pretend nothing happened. But she took a deep breath and told the villagers the truth. They all laughed kindly and helped her bake another one. Whimsy learned that being honest about mistakes is braver than pretending everything is perfect. Let me tell you about a bunny who falls down more times than she can count, but oh boy, does she keep hopping back up. This is the tale of Tumble and her wobbly race. Tumble signed up for the Great Forest Obstacle Race. She bounced at the starting line, heart pounding. When the race began, she darted forward but tripped over a log. She slipped in the mud. She rolled down a little hill. Every time she fell, the crowd gasped. Some whispered she would never win. But Tumble wiped the mud from her face and kept hopping. She tumbled and wobbled all the way to the finish line. She didn't come first, but she finished. and her big smile said it all. She learned falling down never matters if you get back up. Now, if you thought Tumble's race was tricky, wait till you hear about Zeke the Mole. His dream kept collapsing right under his feet. Let me tell you what happened next. Zeke and the collapsing tunnel. Zeke the Mole grabbed his little shovel and started digging. He wanted to build the longest tunnel in Tiny Tales Land. He dug fast and smiled big. But crack, crunch, crash, the tunnel kept falling in, dirt everywhere. Zeke sighed and rubbed his nose. Maybe moles like him were not meant to dig big dreams. Then he remembered trees. They grow roots slowly and strong. So Zeke tried again. This time, he dug carefully, little by little, day by day. One morning, he popped up at the other end. His tunnel stood tall. Dreams take time, but they grow. Speaking of dreams, let me tell you about Flick the Firefly. Her dream was to shine bright, but every time she tried, her light kept going out. Listen closely to her story. Flick and the Flickering Light. Flick zipped through the air, buzzing with excitement. Tonight was the Firefly Light Parade, and she wanted to shine the brightest. She flew fast, zipping left and right, but her light kept flickering out. She practiced every night, flying faster and faster, but the glow always faded. Flick almost gave up. On the night of the parade, she stopped and took a deep breath. She slowed her wings, steady and calm. Suddenly, her light grew strong and bright. Flick joined the parade, glowing like a star. She learned that sometimes you shine best when you slow down and keep going. Now you'll want to hear about Rocky the Raccoon. His dream wasn't about flying or digging. It was about building something big. But every time he tried, it kept falling apart. Here's how Rocky never gave up. Rocky and the Broken Kite. Rocky the Raccoon tightened the string on his kite. He wanted to build the biggest, fastest kite in Tiny Tales Land. He ran to the hill and threw it into the sky. Crash! The kite snapped and fell. Rocky huffed and almost stomped away. But then he thought about Yuki and Ahmed. They fixed their inventions after many tries. So Rocky picked up the pieces. He stitched the fabric. He fixed the frame. He tested it again and again. One windy afternoon, the kite soared high above the trees. Rocky smiled wide. He learned that mistakes help you build better. Max and Leafy face their fears in a thrilling shadow adventure in this story time. Have you ever seen a shadow so big it looked like a giant? Well, Max and Leafy did, and they had no idea what was waiting for them. The sun was setting over Tiny Tales Land, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. The air was warm, the breeze gentle. Max, the flying fox, stretched his wings, ready for an evening glide. Beside him, Leafy the rabbit princess watched the wind ripple through the grass. That's when they saw it. A huge dark shadow moved between the trees. It stretched across the ground, long and twisting, shifting every time the wind blew. Max's ears perked up. Did you see that? Something big is moving in the forest? Leafy frowned. It's just a shadow, Max. Maybe it's from the trees. Max flapped his wings. Or maybe it's a monster. His tail flicked excitedly. Let's go find out. Leafy hesitated. Or we could stay here, where it's safe. But Max was already zooming ahead, gliding low over the path, eyes locked on the shadow. Leafy sighed. Max, wait! We don't even know what it is. But Max didn't wait. He darted between the trees, chasing the shadow, laughing as it danced ahead of him. Then, whoomp! Max yelped. His wings snagged on a tangle of vines. He twisted and turned, but the vines held tight. Uh-oh! Leafy! A little help here. Leafy hurried over, pressing her paws against the vines. She closed her eyes. The green leaves shimmered, shifting and untangling. With a final whoosh, Max tumbled free, landing with a thud. He sat up, rubbing his head. Thanks, but we need to keep moving. The shadow's getting away. Leafy sighed. Or we could just let it go. Max grinned. Where's the fun in that? Together, they followed the shadow deeper into the forest, Max bounding ahead, Leafy stepping carefully behind. The shadow grew larger, darker, stranger. It twisted over the ground, creeping up the trees. The branches rustled, whispering in the wind. Leafy's ears twitched. "I don't know about this, Max." Max flared his wings. "Come on, just a little closer." The shadow shifted suddenly, stretching out toward them. Max and Leafy froze. Their eyes widened. Max's tail flicked nervously. Leafy gulped. Then whoosh! The wind blew, the trees swayed, and the shadow moved. Not because of a monster, not because of something scary, but because of the moonlight. Max blinked. Wait, it's just a tree? Leafy stared, and the wind is making it move. They looked at each other. Then they laughed. Max flopped onto the ground, wings spread wide. "I thought we were chasing a giant or a dragon or—" He chuckled. "Just a tree, just a silly wobbly shadow." Leafy giggled. "I guess sometimes our imagination makes things scarier than they really are." Max rolled onto his side. "You were right, Leafy. Maybe I should slow down and think before rushing in." Leafy smiled. "And maybe I should be a little braver." The wind danced through the trees. The shadow flickered across the grass. No longer scary, just part of the night. Max stretched. "Well, since we solved the mystery, let's go home." Leafy nodded. "Agreed, no more shadow chasing, at least not tonight." They turned back toward Tiny Tales Land, their laughter echoing through the trees. Behind them, the shadow danced in the moonlight, just another part of the world. That was Max and Leafy face their fears in a thrilling shadow adventure. A heart-racing story time for kids, straight from Tiny Tales Land. If you loved this adventure, don't forget to hit the thumbs up to cheer on Max again with Mike and Cheryl. Something's weighing heavy today. Mike and Cheryl sat side by side. The room felt quiet, heavy. "How can we be happy, Mike?" Cheryl asked. Mike thought. "Happiness isn't pretending. It's sharing light, even when it's dim." Cheryl's brow wrinkled. "What if the light's gone?" Mike stood, pulled down an old photo album. Dust floated as he opened it. They turned the pages, laughed. A silly haircut, a wonky cake, a muddy camping trip. Smiles grew. "See," Mike whispered, "joy isn't what we keep, it's what we give." Cheryl nodded, eyes brighter. The room didn't feel heavy anymore, just warm. "Now let's follow two little builders." Bobby and Mary built castles in the sandbox, towers, moats, and bridges. "Ow!" Mary yelped, clutching her finger. Bobby dropped his shovel. "What happened?" "I scraped it on a rock," she sniffled. He knelt beside her. "Let me see." He gently held her hand, then reached into his pocket. "My lucky Band-Aid," he said, peeling it open. "Magic included." He placed it on her finger like it was treasure. Mary smiled through her tears. "Thanks." "Builders look out for each other," Bobby said, standing tall. Mary nodded. "Next castle's yours." They kept building, one Band-Aid stronger. Hope you're enjoying the story so far. If you are, give a thumbs up, just like Bobby did with his lucky Band-Aid. And if you want more tales from Tiny Tales Land, hit that subscribe button. Stick around. There's a little surprise waiting if you stay to the very end. Now, let's paddle over to someone who's about to turn a splash into a spotlight. Willa the otter practiced her water dance every day. Swirl, flip, splash. It was finally perfect. But overnight, the riverbed shifted. Her dance spot was gone. She stared at the new shape of the stream. Her heart sank. "All that practice," she sighed. Then something sparkled. A new ripple, a twist in the current. Willa dove in. She spun where the bend turned, slid where the stream curled. Her dance changed with the water. When she finished, the trees rustled like claps. Willa smiled. Maybe this is better. Change had made her shine. Speaking of shining, someone's about to share something even brighter at bedtime. Liam snuggled under the covers as Dad opened his favorite book. Once there was a squirrel who found a giant acorn and shared it, Dad read. Liam listened, wide-eyed. That was kind. Dad smiled. What are you grateful for today? Liam thought hard. My toys, my sandwich. And you? Dad chuckled and closed the book. I'm grateful for you too. Liam yawned and whispered, Thank you for stories and dreams. As sleep came, Liam felt safe and loved. Every night after that, bedtime ended the same way. With a story, with gratitude. Still here? That means it is reward time. Did you enjoy the stories? Give a thumbs up for Willa's water dance or Liam's bedtime wish. Want more adventures from Tiny Tales Land? Subscribe and come join us. We have lots more to explore. And if you're curious, check out another story right after this or visit our magical home at Tiny Tales Land. Just follow the link in the description. Oh, and since you stayed until the end, here's your reward. A big smile from me, Pixie. You earned it. See you in the next story. Search Tiny Tales Land